Mgbede. If you're new to this channel, I discuss about Igbo spirituality, ordinary Igbo. So I try to make it relatable. I break down the interpretations of these concepts and I try to demystify it. So if you're interested in these kinds of content and if you're an Igbo person, and you're interested in knowing your spirituality, your culture, then this is the best page for you. So for today, I'm going to be answering a very important question, and the question is all about: did we Igbo or did our ancient ancestors institute any deity, alose, PowerPoint for wealth? Onwere okwu alose enwere na Igbo bụ nọ ebe ahụ ka ndị Gboo si nọ ijekwu mmụọ afọ wee nye gị ego. Now it's important that we ask these questions, and it's important that we also get the right answers, because we live in a money conscious world. We live in a world where everything, musicians, movies, everything around us is literally supporting wealth, whether it's gotten legitimately or it's gotten illegitimately. But for the very fact, or for the main reason that you have money, well, the society is going to respect and encourage you against somebody that is allegedly trying to just get by. So these are conversations we need to have because of our money conscious mentality, which is the same thing where many other people are also coming into ordinary, trying to embrace ordinary because of some kind of impression that they have that ordinary is magic, and via Nollywood, once you enter or once you acknowledge or you go to one kind of deity, this is going to provide you with all the necessary funds that you need. So I want to basically bring in my own interactions, bring in my own interpretations, things that I've actually found out, and from there we'll basically get one or two insights on how our ancestors actually lived their life, interacted with these elements, and the purpose and the functions that they basically accomplished in our life. So stay tuned and let's basically discuss about this concept. So when we start asking the right questions, this is when we start actually getting the right and useful information. So if we look back in the days of our ancestors, the first question we're supposed to ask is even, how did these our ancestors measure wealth? Kedifebo, what was those markers in those days that they would look at and say, okay, this person is a rich man? How were they able to distinguish between a poor man and a wealthy man? So if you can be able to answer this question of how did they measure wealth, how did they measure financial liberation? Well, first of all, understand that in those days, there wasn't any need, or not even need. They did not use paper money, unlike now that the world rules the world is now paper money, not even the coins, which in some part of US, they still use the coin system. But in Nigeria here, we don't use the coin system. It's just paper money or nothing else. Basically allowed our ancestors to measure wealth through how many yam band does this person have, oba jione ka this person onwe. How many wives does this person have? Not just how many wives is he able to take care of? Now, there are other reasons why our ancestors actually went into polygamy, but that's just for another topic for another day. Now, you have to also ask, what are those titles? K titles onyaji, kedifeji we maria, or diji, or diochi. All those things. What were those recognizable titles that this person have? What is this person's spiritual connection? Now, spiritual connection here, it falls under people that are actually part of the Nzenozo Council. Because if you have to have that spiritual connection, some of these people, you have to have enough money for you to be able to embark on some of these spiritual journey. So the spiritual connection this individual have is all those things that are going to bring together, and that's how they measure if a person is wealthy and if this person is poor. All these lands, wives, titles didn't matter to our ancestors, because to them at that point, they were basically concerned with instituting deities that would help to preserve their life. That's how we hear people are saying ndoka. that was once there is life, there is hope. I say it because even if you go to Alpha and you want to basically start a division process, the first thing you're going to basically ask through that process is to ask Ndo Adekwa. That's to show you the importance of life. Now, other things they instituted were things like aquarium, because they knew that if there is no point of achieving all this wealth, gathering all these properties, and at the end of the day, you don't have any posterity, you don't have any children to pass this wealth to. So they understood that in cases of fertility issues, in cases of child mortality or gender mortality, they would have to institute a deity that is going to help them to preserve their life. Now, our ancestors looked inwards and they understood that Agwo is a personal thing to an individual. Without your agwo, which makes up your akonuche, your intellectual process, you as an individual will not function. So they instituted agwo as a giving agwo honor. Do I say it to agwo or elo agwo? Now, by doing that, you're consecrating that agwo energy and giving it the chance to basically manifest in your life. Now, another thing our ancestors instituted is chi and ikenga. Now, Chi and Ikenga, I could have started with explaining Chi instead of Aqualium, but in my article, I looked at it as Aqualium in this context being in context where there is issue with child mortality, then there is a need to institute Aqualium, which becomes the origin of that individual. But when we talk about the Ikenga, we're talking about the strength, your strength to walk, because people believe that in Ghana, Uchute, Ago, Ebuhege. If a lazy man closes off his mattress, then hunger is going to make him or her to basically sit up and start working hard. And in our cosmology, what we look at as the strength of your right hand, the strength or the spiritual representation of strength is the Ikenga. So when our ancestors know that, they understood that for you to function, for you to actually be a person, for you to basically achieve akalowa, that thing that you're supposed to do in life, you need to have enough strength and enough energy. So they're able to institute a concept or a concept like Ikenga. Another thing they instituted here is things like Ungu. Now, in every family that has Ungu, we all know that this family is well protected. Now, some people will tell you if your family has an Ungu, there is no point for you to actually go and invite or bring in something outside or an Ogu outside in order to secure your life, because you have already been secured by that deity that we refer to as Ungu. These few things that I actually mentioned can have different names to you as an individual. That's why when we talk about Chi and the Ezumezu, we're talking about Chi, which becomes your origin, isi mirigi. Because in Igbo cosmology, we look at the concept of Chi as your individual's creator. You did not just exist, and we don't have that personal interaction with the Okike concept. So for us to basically place it under a hierarchy, it goes this way: Okike or Chuku. Then the next thing that is attached to you is your Chi, which becomes a direct aspect of Okike, which now decides to create you. Now, amongst all those things, amongst all the Ezumezu that is coming or that is being accompanied with your Chi, is when you now have your Ago, which becomes your Ogugisi, your Akonuchi. You now have your Ikenga, your strength. We now also have, Alusi Sogi. It could come because it wants to perform any function for you, like I mentioned, Ungu. Now, for you now, if you ask these very important and vital questions, you may have to understand that there is maybe another deity that performs this function of protection for you, but it has a different name other than the Ogun that I just mentioned, but it's still under that same umbrella. Now, there's this thing that we need to understand, that irrespective of the fact that these deities or these elements actually have their specific functions, that functions can actually interlock with one another. Now, it's interlapping with one another is because we know that financial liberation can actually be negotiated. Now, we hear people telling you that this thing is an Alosiego. Igbo never instituted any deity and say this is an Alosiego. Now, for me now, I can look at Ungu and also say that Ungu is a deity that I can reach out to because I'm looking for some kind of financial breakthrough. I can move to Ago. I can move to my Chi. I can even move to Aqualium. But our ancestors understood that ego ade ebuzo, your protection, what's your life, your purpose in life, all of them have to first of all come forward before any other thing comes after. Another interpretation of Agwu that I'm going to use to basically kind of answer some serious question of, did Ndi Igbo institute any alose that is going to influence wealth for us? Now, another loose interpretation of Agwu, first of all, know that Agwu here manifests as Akonuchi, but some other people will look at Agwu and they will tell you that Agwu bobute bute, Agwu bobute ego, ebutecha ego ogwu odika onoma butezi ozo. Then we look at Agwu as an energy or as an agent that goes out there to bring in wealth for an individual. But obviously these things are energies, these things are spirits, so they lack this material interaction. Now, spirits may not necessarily come to you like physically and basically afflict you with one negative energy or the other, but it can influence. Spirits work with influence. So what Agwu does in this context is by sharpening your creative mind, sharpening your creative ability, and once Agwu sharpens it, it could now materialize in form of financial liberation. Let me create an illustration. So for a dancer, for a comedian, you might be a struggling comedian, or let me say a designer, someone that is creative. You could decide now, probably you don't know, you've never heard, or you don't know the function of Agwu. So you just decide to basically continue to live your life and just be getting by. But the moment you recognize that Agwu affects or influences your Akonuchi, Agwu sharpens your creative mind, you go through the process of Agwu. Once you've gone through this process of Agwu here becomes like a revealer in whatever field that you basically have engaged yourself with. Agwu becomes to basically reveal things to you. If you're a designer, Agwu is capable of giving you inspirations, opening you up to things that are not in existence. And once you bring that thing that Agwu has revealed to you through your dreams and manifest it in this physical realm, that somebody out there will pick it up and basically maybe pay you for it. So those interactions, those revelations you're getting from Agwu, once you put them in practice, it can now materialize in form of financial liberation. So this was the reason why our ancestors did not see the need for them to actually institute anything and say this thing is supposed to give you wealth. Now, we have other deities, like every community in Igbo land have their deity. Every community, every family have their own deity. Now, each of those deities are always targeted towards protection or provision of children. Now, if you look at those deities, you can also meet those deities and negotiate with them. Now, there's also another thing the Igbo people believe. We believe in Akalowa. We believe in predestination, and this means that for some people, it has been fated that they would become billionaires and millionaires in their lifetime. And we also believe that not everybody would eventually become a billionaire or a millionaire, no matter how hard you work. Now, it's now left for you to basically know the primordial energies that are accompanying you. And once you recognize those primordial energies, you can basically offer some sort of a cosmic exchange with them through Echwaja and Esochozo. So once we become to interact and engage them, you are already negotiating your financial liberation. Now, based on Iowa, based on the kind of cosmic oaths that you took before you basically came into this world, it will now determine if your primordials would basically nudge you or influence a situation that is going to help you to eventually become financially liberated. Now, another thing here is that Ndi Igbo believe in Awaka be goni ogalanya nesi na chuku, or sorry, ogalanya nesi na chi. Now, the reason why I had to correct myself is that Ndi will believe that the concept of Chukwu is all-knowing, all-present, but never concerned. We don't have that personal interaction with the source, Okike. That's why we said Chimad, but a direct aspect of Okike. Now, for you to get to Okike, for you to get or achieve anything to Okike, you have to pass through your Chi, you have to pass through your Onyowa, you have to pass through all these agents in the Chi, no more before you have to pass through them before you actually have that interaction with the source. Now, whatever supplication you're giving to them, they are carrying it and they are taking it directly to the source and say, this is our child, help us or permit us to achieve this thing for them. So to us now, it becomes important that you eventually acknowledge your Chi. That's why our ancestors believe that Obaka Mombo Begunri, Nongalanya Nesinachi. So for you to basically achieve anything, for you to be able to be somebody in life, you need to acknowledge the existence of this Chi factor in your life. That's the Igbo belief. That's the Igbo opinion. So because of this provision of Awo, Chi, Ezume, Ezundi, Chi, Alose, and the rest of it, we understood that the only way for us to actually achieve wealth is by following the natural principles. And once you follow the natural principles, it's going to help you, it's going to groom you, give you the discipline that you need, and at the end of the day, you're going to achieve what you want to achieve, or what has been stated or fated that you're going to achieve. Now, to basically conclude, this is one of the reasons why to basically conclude, we need to understand that rituals that are targeted at accelerating wealth is not part of the core Igbo, is not part of the core ordinary practices. It's not even an aberration. You can even look at it as a cultural practice because people do it. Our society, our spirituality does not encourage it, but it tolerates it because we believe that what exists is knowledge of good and bad. You as an individual could decide to choose which one favors you. You could decide, I want to go towards the bad part, negative part. Ihonye choroko gafu. So if you decide to take, to embrace the good knowledge, use it for the betterment of mankind, you're still going to get the dividend of that resolution. So when the most of our youth engage themselves in activities, in the rituals that are targeted at accelerating wealth, we need to understand that if our ancestors in those days did not institute any deity and dedicate it and say, this thing, what you're going to be doing for us is to be giving or providing us with wealth, then there is no need that a young person in this generation should engage in, activities that are targeted at money accelerations. So like I said earlier, if you like these kinds of content, you should follow this page, and this is where we talk about Igbo spirituality. We discuss it and we bring in some modernizations into it. So until next time, see you guys.